mental limitation, substance abuse, or chronic poor health, also known as self-neglect. So I think the easiest way to think of the difference between abuse and neglect is abuse is something that's done to a person. So hitting, biting, scratching, kicking, taking money,
right.
all of these things, that's something that's done to a person. Neglect is something that's not done to a person. So something that should be done, that is not done. That's neglect. So like, not making sure that person has healthy food or water. Again, this is going to depend on the individual, because everybody's different. But there are folks that we support that could not do that on their own. They could not get their own food and water on their own. They just don't have the ability for whatever reason. So it's going to depend on the person. But is that clear, like what abuse is and what neglect is? Okay, any questions or comments? You guys have had good questions so far. All right. So to kind of recap, we're all mandated reporters. We have to report if we reasonably suspect that there's abuse or neglect. There's a phone number, and we're going to give you that number.
Are these ours to keep?
Yes.
Those are yours to keep?
You write the number on top of that. APS is Adult Protection Service, and it's area code 805-654-3200. 654-3200.
Right, and you ask for Adult Protective Services when you call. So we're all mandated. That means we have a legal duty and responsibility because we work with dependent adults as they're defined under the law. Does anyone know what the reporting timelines are? When do you report?
Don't you? Isn't it like
within 24
hours?
Within 24 hours?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No, it's not.
It's 36.
36 hours?
Oh, no.
Well, yeah,
immediately.
12?
Probably immediately is the best answer.
Immediately, yeah.
And you would call this number that we just gave you. The law says as soon as practical.
Right.
So in other words, as soon as you can, as soon as you're in a safe place or, whatever the situation might warrant, but as soon as you can. So, and it should be within 24 hours. So there shouldn't be more than a lapse of a 24-hour period of time before that call is made. And then the second half is there's a written report, and I'm going to pass that around to you guys. And you can keep these copies. We've got plenty. And we also have a sample of a completed report. So, and if you need any assistance in completing the written report, let us know. But again, it's not my responsibility to do it. If you are the person who is told the information, witnesses the incident, you're the one that has to report. So we're all on the hook if we reasonably suspect that abuse has happened. And the written report, does anyone know what the reporting timeline is for the written report?
I think that's the 36-hour one. That's probably wrong.
So 36 hours, anybody, any other? The written report actually needs to be done within 48 hours. So you have 2 days.
I was close.
You were close. 36 is close.
Did I get a piece of candy?
You were lifesaver.
You're a lifesaver.
Joy,
You're a
girl.
lifesaver. And so let me just go over this one really quickly. This is kind of an interesting case. This was a husband and wife that we supported, and they both had developmental disabilities. They were both clients of the regional center. And the way this came up was the instructor went over to the house to, for their regular appointment, and the wife told her, and she was really upset, and she's like, well, what's the matter? What's wrong? And she said, my husband kicked me in the stomach.
Ooh.
And we were like, oh my goodness. So, she did a little bit of digging and said, well, what happened and what led to that? And So we got some of the details of the information, and basically he had just gotten angry because he was watching a show on TV. It was sports, and they were watching something else, and he wanted to turn the channel, and they were fighting about what they were going to watch on TV, and he lost his temper and he kicked her in the stomach, and it hurt her. I mean, it was, it wasn't just a minor thing. It was pretty serious. So we had to report that, right? That is abuse, right? That's physical abuse. It's a dependent adult. Just because he is her husband doesn't give him the right to beat her up. Okay? So we reported that, and this is the report right here. And so, there's some details. It says, I did black out the names and just for confidentiality. But
were we supposed to have an example?
yeah, I'm gonna send
right.
this around just for you to look at. So you have the first section here, which is like the demographic information, like name, the victim's name, their age, their date of birth, this kind of thing, their address. The next section is who the suspected abuser is. So in this case, it was the husband. The reporting party, so that would be you if you're making the report. You're going to put your information there. The incident information, so it asks for details. And they have check boxes, was it, in this case it was an assault and battery, so we checked that off. And then where it happened, the date, and then the observation from the reporter. So the instructor reported it, and again, it kind of gives the details, which I've already told you, and then other family members, etc. So let me pass that around so you can have a look. There's 2 pages. Or is that 2 different ones?
Are they the same?
Oh yeah, they are.
They are
the same. So let me pass this around. Okay. All right. Joy, can you just go ahead and turn the camera off? Thank you very much. Go. All right, so I'm going to talk fast because the battery is red before it goes out. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is the regional center reporting requirements. So we just spent the whole hour, talking about APS and abuse and neglect. Now this is yet a whole nother set of reporting that we do, and we're required to do this by contract with the regional center. And there's a bunch of check boxes on here, so these are all of the things that the regional center wants us to report. Now this is a lot broader than just abuse and neglect. That's on here, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff on here too. So you don't have to report this individually. We as an agency have to do the reporting. So usually one of the supervisors or myself actually completes the report. But what we do is we ask you about the details because you're the ones that are probably going to be out there with the person when it happens and so on. So we'll ask you date, time, place, all the particulars. Something that you may not think of is medication errors. That's a biggie one with the regional center and the state. So a medication error can be a lot of different things. Like for example, you have an AM med and a PM med. And the person takes the AM med and the PM, that's a med error. We got to report that. Or the person's like, I don't want to take my med today. We don't force them to take the med, but we have to report it. Okay? So double dosing, forget. Usually it's the error of omission. Like, oh my God, I was supposed to give it. Here it is. It's 8 o'clock, and this person had a 3 o'clock med, and I forgot. That's probably the most common, but again, we have to report that. So I'm just going to go down very quickly here. Same reporting requirements as for APS. So there's a 24-hour verbal and a 48-hour written. So they have to get this. Now, keep in mind, too, that if this happens, say, on a weekend, let's say it happens on Saturday morning. Okay, the clock starts ticking Saturday morning. So if it's at 7 a.m. Saturday morning, the clock's ticking 7 a.m. Saturday morning. So we have till 7 a.m. the next day, Sunday, to verbally report this. So since the offices are closed, you're going to call the on-call supervisor, which is that 888 number, and the toll-free number, and then just hit 0. So we rotate that, so either one of the supervisors or myself are on the on-call, and it changes every 3rd week because there's 3 of us. And you'll get one of us, and then you're going to give us the information, and we'll actually do the report. We'll call it in, we'll do the written report, and we'll send it in. So it has to be in by 7 a.m. Monday morning. That would be our deadline for the written report. And obviously we don't get into the office until 8:30, so we're going to have to do this over the weekend. So even though the offices are closed, we still have to do this. So for you as staff, if something happens on a Saturday, don't wait till Monday to let us know. When we're back in the office, let us know right away, so we can make sure that we meet our deadlines. So we have the 24-hour verbal, and then we have the 48-hour written report. So these are all of the things that need to be reported. Death of an individual seems pretty obvious, but we would report that. So if your client dies, we expect you to know about it and to report it. Yeah, wait till Monday. It's fine.
They can wait. They're not going anywhere.
Unauthorized absence, that would be like a missing persons kind of thing. So you don't know where the person is, and so you're either going to call law enforcement or not.
Totally, Daniel.
Yeah, now in his case, dodging an appointment is probably not a missing person.
I even had him go over with me to the apartment to go into his bedroom. We couldn't find him.
I know. I remember. We went into CVS and we were going in for him to get his medicine yesterday, and I literally turned to look at something, and I turned gone. Gone. I'm like,
Missing
oh my god, I'm
person.
gonna have to call Richard.
Okay. Call the police. No. So
He needs one of those.
individual was the victim of a crime, so no matter what the location is, that's something that we would report. Suspected abuse or exploitation, that's the same, but we have physical, sexual, psychological, physical restraint, fiduciary, chemical restraint. That would be over-medicating somebody to, keep them calm or drowsy or, whatever. So they go to sleep early, so they're asleep at 5 and they don't wake up the next day till, 5. That would be chemical restraint. Sexual harassment or inappropriate contact, alleged violation of rights, and we talked about clients' rights. Reasonably suspected neglect, and then there's a few of those. Okay, now you have to be quiet because this is on tape. This is being filmed. So this will be immortalized. It will be all over the internet, so you want to make sure you're on your best behavior. Emergency room visit, that's one that sometimes people don't think of, like an ER visit. If your individual is having stomach issues, say, it's the middle of the night, you might need to go to the ER, and that needs to be reported.
Yeah.
So we got to report that. Unplanned or unscheduled hospitalization. Again, unplanned, unscheduled. So that would be something that's an emergency type or really urgent situation. If the person is planned to go in for their surgery and it's like, okay, 3 weeks from now, we're going to be admitted, we're going to have this procedure done, that's planned, so we wouldn't report that. Suicide episode, either a threat or an attempt. Again, if people say, I'm going to kill myself, we need to listen very carefully, and that's going to put a whole bunch of things in motion as far as what we do, but also it's going to be reported to the regional center. Serious injury or accident. The way I think about that is anything that requires medical treatment beyond first aid, that's going to be a reportable injury. So, Joe falls down, scrapes his knee, you can wash it, Neosporin, Band-Aid, that's first aid, that's not reportable. But if it requires more than that, if anything beyond first aid, again, you might have an ER visit or a doctor's visit, whatever, that's going to be reported.
You might want to just tell your supervisor just because they may go, somebody could come in and not realize and go, oh, that's abuse, when in reality they just hurt themselves at home or something.
Yeah, that's a good
But-
point.
or
More
document
communication
it
is
or
always
something.
better.
Yeah.
It's always good to communicate
Yeah.
things and just so we're all on the same page. Just a situation that came up with one of our guys is we were sitting in a quarterly meeting at the regional center with the service coordinator, and we were kind of like, reviewing the progress and stuff we were doing, and he's like, oh yeah, I went to the ER last week, and we didn't know about it. He did it on his own. He didn't report it to us, and so, it was like we looked pretty stupid sitting there in a meeting. We're supposed to, know what's going on in people's lives. Now, this guy is very independent, and he drives, so he can go to the ER if he feels like he needs to. He doesn't have to have our permission. But in hindsight, what the staff should have done was just checked in with him and said, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What's been going on? And that probably, a discussion like that was, hey, have you seen your doctor lately? Or, how's your health? Just some kind of a question like that, he probably would have volunteered that. It wasn't like it was a secret, or it was just he didn't think that he needed to tell anybody, and he didn't, and so then it came up that way, and that was not what we wanted. That's not the professional standard that we want to, display to the people that we work with. So there was part of it was educating the person that we support. Hey, because you're receiving services, there are some responsibilities that go along with that, which is we have to report certain things, so you need to know that. And then training for the staff, which is you need to just make sure you're checking in with the person and talking with them and, finding important stuff out about their life. Not to be intrusive, but, something like that is something that, should be discussed, and how can we help you?